Welcome to the Crimeycade podcast. I am the mad conservative crime fighter, Stephen Lucas, 91 Nintendo Campus Challenge National Champion, 2021 Goblin Ghost Arcade Gamer of the Year. And it's Sunday. I'm doing a podcast after having such a wild day yesterday. In fact, the last 2 days. Friday night was setup of a wrestling show, which extended into Saturday, and then hightailing it over to Jacksonville to make an appearance at my 35th high school class reunion. Then hightailing it back to Springfield to deal with the wrestling show, and I am so sore. I'm barely moving, but since I can talk and I don't have to move, I can do a podcast. But why am I doing it? Doing another one on a Sunday afternoon, especially when it's Mother's Day. Well, I will be introducing my guest in a moment, but I have to share a few of my usual announcements. And I got to pull my slideshow up again. There we go. Thursday, my guest was Old School Gamer Magazine representative, editor Ryan Berger. And about a little more than an hour with him and learned about, or at least reflected on the past Midwest Gaming Classic, the magazine, and finding out that he was a wrestling promoter for 8 years and never expected to find that one out. If you haven't given that one a listen, go to my Facebook. Go to Facebook or Twitch and give that a listen to. It'll be posting on YouTube in a few days. And if you're listening on Facebook.com, follow me on Twitch at rap_sheet. If you're watching me on Twitch, follow me, Facebook.com/Crimeycade. And the past episodes will be on YouTube, tiny.cc/PWCI. And with every podcast I do, I have to do a Beezer slide because that has not reached the Galloping Ghost arcade floor as of yet. However, the online arcade tournaments are still going on. The main gamer league, the games involved currently active are Sidearms, Exeron, and Beezer. Mr. Driller is the latest game to close. That closed at 4 a.m. this morning, of course, and now I've been joined by one of my feline friends. This girl right here. This turkey decided to crash the stream, and now she's trying to kill the podcast by walking across the keyboard. Great. What are you trying to pull, little girl? She thinks now she's trying to be the star of the show now. That's what she is. And she keeps walking back and forth because she's not outside and she wants to be outside, and she had her time outside a while ago, but now she wants me to let her out again and not be in front of this doggone computer. So, currently on the Main Gaming League Season 67, I am ranked 8th, tied for 8th. And you are not doing this, girl. Anyway. She's 18 years old. She's an elderly cat, and she wants to get all the attention in the world while she's still around. All right. Well, I've already done this, so take that off. All right. My guest at this time, as I mentioned, why am I doing it on Sunday? Well, my podcast interviews guests all around the world, not just in the United States. Yes, I've had guests from Canada, a neighbor to the north, but I've also gone over to Australia and the United Kingdom. Now I'm going into a new country, and it's over. I'll say this. There's a game out of this country that I played quite a bit during my college years and somewhat post college years. It was a game called Northern Lights Abermud that ran at uh, Lud, I think Lud or Luth University in Sweden. Come to find out that that game has gone down, has gone offline, and probably permanently after 31 years. Yes, Luea University. I can't pronounce it. It's Lud, yes. Ran on one of their servers there, and that server went down, and apparently they didn't have everything backed up. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, you gotta back up your data in case the server goes down because you're always running backups because it's a college server. There's a bunch of students. It's like everything's they put everything on the cloud these days. Anyway. My guest at this time is a Commodore Amiga enthusiast, I think. He's very interested in the gaming music and chip tunes, kind of the 8-bit, 16-bit music, and runs an online radio station out of Sweden. Introducing our guest tonight, Erik Zalitis.
Zalitis is my name. Hello.
Say
Welcome.
Again?
Zalitis. Erik Zalitis.
Zalitis.
Yes.
Almost. I have to pronounce so many names at my workplace because I do IT help desk.
Yeah.
And names show up on the tickets, and then I have to decipher how to pronounce them.
Yeah. Always a challenge there, right?
Yes. You're also known as DJ Damon.
Damon. I don't know actually. I say Demon, but I think it's more Damon actually.
Yes. Welcome in. And there's no lag time, surprisingly.
Well, I got fiber connections, but it's a long journey to the United States.
Yes. So give us the 411. You run the radio station, but how did you get into gaming?
Well, I was a kid back then in the 80s, and then we had all the cool little home computer era computers like Texas Instrument, the VIC-20, the Atari, the Commodore 64, and my father was a journalist. He was working that as a side hobby thing, so he was reviewing computers for a small newspaper. So he got home a lot of really cool machines like BBC Micro, like the TI-94. We also had like the Victrex, if you remember that one.
Yes.
And many of them were beautiful failures, stuff that were cool but never really hit the big market. But then there were the C64. The C64 was something totally different. That was where the cool kids, what we had.
Yes, I have a Commodore 64. It's been sitting in storage for quite a number of years because I don't have room to set it out with all the other stuff I got. But I had an Atari 2600, or no, 1200 XL as well. But the PC games, the modern PC has pretty much dominated and the consoles, and now I'm on an arcade kick.
Yeah. But that is kind of what we saw. I believe the PC and the Mac took over in the 92, and that killed off Atari and later Commodore Amiga. So that was kind of this shift over from the olden days with home computers and stuff.
Although lately, I've kind of seen that the C64 Mini has been put out and loaded up with a bunch of games, kind of like those, the NES Classic, the Super Nintendo Classic. So there's a Commodore 64 Classic now.
Yeah, I know, I know. Those are cool, actually. It make sure that people that don't want to buy their old equipment and kind of dig up stuff that barely works from the cellar or something, they can kind of enjoy their old time experience. So I'm totally into that. Really nice.
So the Commodore Amiga, it's
Yeah.
kind of more of a niche computer, but back in the 90s, it was the workhorse for video production and music.
Yes.
And there's gaming. I think it dominated the market before the PCs took over, but
Hmm.
because the PCs were not so good at
Graphics and
graphics.
stuff. No.
Yes.
Just think about it like this: when the Commodore Amiga came out, that was 1985. It was revolutionary because before that, you had like CGA and EGA, the PC gaming graphics mode, that were like a few colors, very bad, very low resolution, and the games looked really cheap. When Amiga came out, it had like almost VGA graphics from start, which was brand new, and it also had a sampler, an 8-bit sampler called Paula, which was something awesome because suddenly you didn't have the chip tune sounds. You actually had real samplers in the mid 80s. No, the PC, if you wanted that, you had to pay a lot of money, and it wasn't standardized by then. So the Amiga took off, but it wasn't until 1987 when the Amiga 500 came out that the whole thing just exploded.
Yes. Um, I know back then, as a part of, gosh, there was a Commodore computer club that I was participated in and got to look at all that technology as I was growing up. Uh, Also went to school to learn computers, although it was the PC side of thing because the PCs were more for the business community. So that was its niche. Um, I know Atari ST was a came out to compete with the Amiga, but I believe the Amiga kind of won the war on that one. Uh,
Yes, it did because the Atari and Amiga, we were kind of, shouldn't say war, but it was like Amiga and Atari users kind of pointed fingers at each other and said, "No, my computer is better." But fairly, to be fair, I would say the Amiga was leaps and bounds the better computer. The Atari had the same CPU, but it was overclocked 1 megahertz. So
yeah.
some games actually ran faster on the Atari. So it wasn't clear that the Amiga always won.
I kind of remember also Jack Trammell jumped ship from
Yeah,
Commodore to Atari. I don't know.
he was forced out.
Oh, he was forced out.
Yes, that's a nasty story, I can tell you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, I don't have all the details, but the thing was that Commodore were doing badly, and he took a lot of loans from a loan shark company, if you want to. And that meant that when they wanted control over the company, eventually he was forced out. And then he went from Commodore to Atari, that's correct, but he was with the whole Commodore company. So it was his ship when the C64 came out, and he said, "This is a computer for the masses, not for the classes," and that was kind of his contribution to the whole thing.
And then he proceeded to destroy the video game division at Atari. And
Okay, I did not know that.
well, there's a lot of game. So 7800 came out after he took over, but his primary focus was the 8-bit and the ST computer lines. The video game division kind of got shafted by about 1990, which is why there's so many Atari prototypes floating around because they
But
canceled
this can
game
be
after
said
game.
about the Commodore as well, because both Commodore and Atari were financially struggling, but Commodore was always worse because it was so badly managed. I don't know about Atari, but in the 90s, the PC were coming out with VGA becoming more standard. You get more like sound cards and stuff, which meant that the games were competing in a way that both Atari and Amiga were suffering. So at that time, it made sense. They had problems kind of competing with the PC, and both failed.
That's interesting. Why didn't I remember all this crap?
I don't know why I do.
um. Okay, so you got your first game. You touched your first games. Gosh, what year was that? Or what was the first video game you've ever played? I guess.
I believe that was Space Invaders, but it was called TI Invaders because that was on the Texas Instrument 94, and I could guess that was 93, 83, 83, 84 or something. I'm not sure
Yeah,
actually.
Space Invaders was my jam as well. But
It
you
was kind of
never,
standard.
yeah. Although you pretty much your starting gaming was with the computers, but you didn't really touch the arcade games.
Not that much. I mean, in America, I guess you had a lot of them. In Sweden, here in Stockholm, we didn't have that many. We have a big park here called Gröna Lund, which has had stuff like that. But most of the time, it was like where we lived in our suburban area, we didn't have anything like that. Most kids had a Nintendo NES, or we had C64s or VIC-20s or 128s. That's kind of how I remember it, at least.
Yeah. And plus, you also TVs were a little are different in Europe. You have PALs.
Yeah,
We
PAL,
have
yeah, yeah.
NTSC.
SC. Not the same color twice. I'm just kidding.
And now I got trouble whining cats in the background. That's it. So yeah, the computer, anything that got put out, they had to put out different versions for different sides of the pond because
Yes.
the TVs don't work the same way.
No, that was a problem. Also, you had to think that Japan and other markets had even more weird standards. France had something called SECAM, and in Russia, in Soviet Union, it was SECAM Ost. So, yeah, there were very much problem, or no standardized set of rules, so to speak.
Mm. So just out of curiosity, what is the gaming scene in Sweden like?
If you mean the retro or the current,
Uh how it was back then and how it is now.
okay, I can't talk much about the current scene because I don't play that much. I play some games with some friends, but back in the day, it was pretty elitist. You were pretty nerdy to be there, and it was also intrinsically linked with something we call the demo scene, where people were making art, music, cool so-called demos with scrolling text and nice graphics. It was also connected to the cracker scene, where they cracked computer games. It was one large set of teens. We were all in our teens and 20s when this happened that did various things. So, but it wasn't like everybody was playing games. This came later. It was mostly a very nerdy things for the younglings, so to speak.
Okay.
And the games could be super hard. You could play games for hours just to win because, I mean, if you played them perfectly, they could be over in 30 minutes. But in reality, you played for hours and hours and hours and hours because the games were short. So they kind of padded the game by making them extremely hard. So if you were a good gamer back then you were good.
You're marathoning games. Yes. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of games in the 90s, they do have an ending. If you play all the levels start to finish, you play the entire game through in about less than a half an hour.
Yes.
And one for a 1cc. Were any arcades in Sweden?
Yeah, as I said, we had some arcade stations, what you call them, where you inserted coins, but they were mostly at entertainment centers, what you call it. Like, as I said, Gröna Lund, maybe Skansen and stuff like that. Maybe in the inner city, but back in suburbia, where I live, I don't think we had any, actually. I can't remember that. It was not a big thing in Sweden.
What did the Swedes really get into back then?
Yeah, well, I think we were much more out playing football on the street and stuff like that. Soccer. Soccer,
Yeah.
yeah. So not football, soccer. And maybe stuff like that. And we were kind of more active. And I remember the kids, the cool kids next to where I lived, they had a Commodore 128. So when we played games like summer games, winter games, Impossible Mission, G.I. Joe, and all that. Really nice. It was fun to play with other people. We had each a joystick, and we were sitting around the same computer because there were no network connections to speak of.
Not for a while. Now, I did touch upon this a little earlier. You told me offline that you've never heard of it or played it. Um, Northern Lightsaber Mud, which is basically back then during the college years, we had these mainframes, and
Yeah.
we may not necessarily have video games on disc to play on the computers, or maybe have the money to plunk down quarters at the arcade because we're going to college. So people would use Telnet to connect to MUDs,
Yeah,
multi-user dungeons.
this I remember, yeah. But I was in '80s. I was a kid. I didn't have a phone line dedicated or a modem. My father didn't like that because it costs a lot of money. But when I in '90s moved away from home, then I got a modem, and then yeah, I started playing stuff like that. But that was later. But that's still a thing. I mean, MUD or multi-user dungeons, they were awesome. Really liked that.
Well, for me, it was like the mid '90s when I was playing them, all the way to the early 2000s. So
Mm.
I wasn't in college yet, and I didn't get to Telnet into anything until the '90s. So
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
didn't came aware of them until then. Although, did you
But you
play
should.
any?
Sorry.
Did you play MUDs back then?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We had some Amiga doors. They were kind of mini MUDs that were multi-user, but they weren't like connected that you played at the same time. They were more like someone connected, you played around, and someone else did. One very famous we had here, it was called Hack and Slash for the Amiga. I had spent a lot of time. Then we have the regular MUDs, the ones you're talking to. What are they called? NetHack or something, if I remember correctly. I played them when I got a telnet and broadband connection in the late '90s. Before that, it kind of wasn't a thing, for me at least.
Now, from the MUDs, it did evolve. I mean, back then it was like text
Yeah.
and ASCII graphics and stuff. But nowadays, we have live service games.
We have Second Life. Isn't that kind of the same thought, isn't it?
I mean, between that, there was like EverQuest and
Yeah.
gosh, which
Yeah,
had
but
its own little can of worms in the social influence and disasters. And
Mm,
there's a fun side and a dark side.
mm.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I guess that's true with pretty much everything on the internet, isn't it so?
Um, so tell me about the radio station. How did you? It, it looks like reading the description online and the history written out. This is the second iteration of Ericade radio.
Ericade. It's
Yeah.
Eric and Arcade.
Yes. Kind of like I have Crime Fighter and Arcade merged together.
Crimeycast, right? Huh?
Crimeycade.
Crimeycade. Okay, yeah, even I can
Crime
get that right.
Fighter,
Yeah.
Arcade.
Ah,
So,
Crimeycade. Crimeycade.
yes.
I can't yeah, try that.
Yes. So you had to, I guess, how do you put together an online radio station and acquire all of these 8-bit tracks, 16-bit tracks, and chip tunes?
Well, back in the day, when I started in the '90s, it was a radio station for real on a real frequency, 88.9 megahertz, and we had kind of competitions. We weren't only we were mostly running other kind of music, but we had competitions where people could compose for the radio station, and we put them on the air. But that wasn't the first real Ericade.radio. The first one was in 2005, and then I had a BBS. So I had people upload hundreds and hundreds of track music tunes or chip tunes, what do you want to call it. So
Yeah.
I had a real big repository of stuff. But when I came back in 2020 and made a real radio station, the one I have now, then I relied heavily on stuff I found on the internet. So I had thousands and thousands of songs. Then I started using Mod Archive, if you know that. modarchive.org, I think it is. And that has all track music you ever wanted. Mostly Amiga, but also modern PC.
How do you curate all that music and then arrange it, kind of decide what to play on a
Every
day-to-day basis?
I actually do it once per week. And what I do is simply that I try to see what's new or if I want to make a podcast, because I also use the podcast to like add new music to the station. So I play it on the podcast, then it goes on the station. So sometimes it's a genre like rock, classic music or something, but most of the time it's just what's the newest one. If Mod Archive have brand new songs that an artist had released in the last 2 days, I'm listening on it, and if I feel it too, one, it must fit the station. Two, it must be good. So I work like that, and I kind of work sometimes by the highest rating tunes or highlighted tunes where the editorials have said this is a good one. And also I let listeners say, hey, I got something cool here. I also scrape a lot of stuff coming out on the demo scene, which means that there's a lot of things to consider, but it's manually curated. I actually go through each song and see if it fits.
How often do you get dinged for I know YouTube's notorious for this. Twitch has flagged some tunes as well for bizarre reasons.
Yeah,
Dealing
well,
with copyright and copyright claims and all that crap.
yeah, sometimes actually, yes. The thing is, that thing misfires more than it gets it right. It can say this is like Spain's song from Euro, whatever, whatever. But no, it isn't. It just says that. Sometimes, yes, it is. Sometimes you can set something on that someone have used a copyrighted song, and then it does correctly, and I have to remove it. This happens occasionally because here's the thing: the demo scene is very sloppy when it comes to adherence to copyright. They are notoriously putting everything on for any reason, and nobody seems to care. But I try to be at least smart about it. Some stuff like old game music is on the station. It's technically copyrighted, but nobody cares. Whereas putting something brand new on is stupid. You shouldn't do. So I try to be smart about it. I really copyright notices, and I also have a lot of problem with Spotify that removes the whole episode if it finds just one infringement. So yeah, that's a problem.
I know Twitch just mutes the segment that it gets flagged, although I don't know why. Outrun soundtrack for that, the first tune got flagged recently. It's like you didn't flag it before, now you're flagging it now.
Yeah, I know. It seems like it misfires a lot, but Spotify is worse because it misfires even when YouTube say it's cool. So I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of something you have to live with. And the worst thing you can have is a copyright strike, because then you get like, if you have 3 of these, the channel is toast. Then you just remove the channel. I have never had that bad. But also when it came to Alistair Brimble, which we feature on this station, I actually mailed him and say, is it okay we host your music? And he said, yeah, okay, fine.
So, go ahead.
No.
So what kind of name, we'll break it down by 5. Your top 5 favorite gaming tracks or chiptune tracks that you play on your station?
Well, of course, I have a number of them. When it comes to gaming tracks, I absolutely love Utopia, the game music for Utopia. Gianna Sisters All Remix is awesome. Dragon's Lair has a number of them. So that's the gaming music that I can remember right now. There are many others. But others is like, there's a song called My Wolf 2, which I love so much. It's an Amiga 4-track module made by a French artist called Arpeggiator of Crisis, and it's just awesome. It's really a magic tune. We have Human to Aurora, which has some kind of role-playing, almost medieval slate to it, what you say. So there are a number. I think that's 5, right? Something around that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So you tell us about the podcast. So it's pretty much segments in between tracks you play on the radio. Kind of, I think, when you are like on the air broadcasting in between the tracks, I know there's several archived episodes on your YouTube channel, which I had it on, had it showing a little bit ago.
Yeah.
Kind of tell us about the podcast, kind of some of the games, or kind of some of the content you covered.
Yeah, Flashback Tracks from the Past is the name of the podcast. And the idea is it's a radio show first, so it has music and short speeches. And the speeches are generally about gaming history, demo scene stuff, and other things. And generally, all tunes you hear on the podcast is new. It's the first time you hear them before they get onto the station. So that's kind of a thing. Otherwise, it would just be the station music with my speech. I try to make it a little bit smarter.
Yeah.
As of recently, we have covered live broadcasts from Revision in Saarbrücken in Germany, where me and a friend broadcast, and that became a podcast episode of 5 hours of music and speech and interviews and stuff. And also, I have reviewed old games like Utopia, Sci-Fi Trading Company, and other games such as Bioshock, even actually, which is pretty recent. And that's kind of the thing. It's a short format with just mostly 1 to 2 minutes of speech and mostly music.
Yeah. So some of the games you play that you remember from over the years, what are, I guess, some of the games that you really love over the years?
There are many. If you're gonna look at games like the C64, the Epix Summer, Winter, and World games comes to mind. They're super simple, but they're fun to play with friends. That's kind of the whole idea with them. I also love Sci-Fi Trading Company, which is a game like Star Trek or something. It's not that well now known. Then there are games like Paradroid, where you try to liberate a ship of crazy AIs that have taken over. You have Spy Hunter. You must have heard about that one, right?
Yes. I'm pulling
That's
up Paradroid. I want to see this thing.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Um,
What a game that was. I don't know if it was popular, but it was very. I like games that are kind of something extra, and they often do not get as popular as they should. So I don't know how well known that was, but it was such a game. Yeah, that's the one.
Paradroid. Let me get. Oh, it's a lot. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, that's the
Jump
one.
up here. So how
That's
you
when you
play this?
What you do is you have an influence device. You're a human being floating in a device that can take over other robots. And what you see there is the takeover sequence. You try to take over a robot, and the number is like how advanced the robot is. 001 is yours. That's the primitive one that you start with. And you can't jump to the highest numbers because they are very hard to take over. They have many more cables in this attack view. So you have to be smart, and you have to jump from robot to robot because you don't control them forever. After a while, you fail, and then you lose control. So you have to kind of jump and all the time, like either take over a robot or shoot it down. So it's kind of smart that way. You can't just take over everything and stick with the most advanced robots because it will fail as well.
I see that 476 number
Yeah.
versus 742. So
Yeah, you can see the 742 have more capabilities to defend itself, but you were able to take it over anyway, or whoever's playing that. So that's the thing. You can't jump too much because if you have like 100 and you try to take over a 900, that's not going to work. That's too
no.
high jump. So you have to be smart about it. And each robot has their own weapon systems, and you can't shoot all the robots because then you will fail, because then your own will explode after a while. So you must like balance between taking over a robot or shooting it down.
And what are some of the other games you were into?
Yeah, there was a platform called Suic, or Shoot 'em Up Construction Kit, which was actually a.
Oh yes,
You know that one.
shoot 'em. Yes, as I I got that. I made a game called The Battle for Nintendo Power, where you're basically playing to recover all your Nintendo games because I guess the video parents took it away. They gave them to some, I guess, villainous evil characters, and you're like battling bullies and I don't know, motorcycle games or whatever. And then you had to find the homework first device key to unlock your Nintendo. And be able to play it again. So
Yeah, Suic was a great game creator. It created fairly advanced games. Really, there were some really nice ones. There was a lot of really crap games because anyone could create a game. I and my brother made one called Erik on the Run, and it was very bad. Alas, I don't have it anymore. But it was fun for a few hours, creating sprites and logic and enemies and background graphics and stuff. It was highly automated, but a really good one. It was a bit limited because it was a shoot 'em up, which means it scrolls upwards. Sideways scrollers could not be made by it, for example. So it was kind of limited exactly what you could do. But you can see it's highly advanced for a C64.
yes, and plus you have to like keep track of all the pixels and or at least you had to build your backgrounds
You
and
could
then
load some preset, but generally, if you wanted to be good, yeah, you had to.
yeah, and that took you pretty much can't really stop once you start on a game because then you forget
Yeah,
stuff over time. I'm going to advance past this and actual see here we go. This
yeah.
is where they're building the map.
Yes, exactly. So you can put them on the map block by block. It's pretty easy to learn. It's not like super hard. It's a very intuitive interface, which says something because yeah, this is. I think it's called Slap and Tickle. I think that's a
One of the
clone of one. Sorry.
it's one of the games that was included on the disc.
Yes, yes, it is. I recognize this one so well. I played it so many times. It's actually a very clever little clone.
I know somebody did a version of Tiger Heli on this, which is an arcade game.
Yeah.
Although at some point the game will loop. It doesn't take long for this game for any of these games to loop. Um, I made my game much longer because I just did a remix of previous levels
Mhm.
and made it appear that the levels were different. They're just kind of broken up into different. I guess the pieces of the level were just put together in a different order and for a quasi unique level.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, given how primitive the C64 is by today's standard, that you could do this was amazing. But again, a lot of people didn't put much effort in it, so a lot of Suic games are not good, but there are some really nice ones.
Although here's I gotta show you this, and you probably heard about it. Um, Games are still getting made for the C64, and
Yes.
somebody did a port of. Let me see if this gets up here. Here we go.
Mario Brothers?
Mario Bros. How'd you know?
I have it.
Yes, somebody did a perfect port of this game
Yeah,
for the
it's
Commodore
awesome.
64.
It has some lag. There are some levels where the C64 is not able to cope with it, but it's minor. As a major rule, this works. And you know what Nintendo thought of it?
Nintendo probably wasn't too thrilled that it was ported. Yeah,
No, it's gone from any site you can find it. If you search for it, you can probably find it. But the main ones, I don't think it's on CSDB or anything. So they pretty much killed it with their lawyers.
did not know that. Now, prior to this, um, I know this game was they ported. Here's a clone of Mario Bros.
Yeah, Gianna Sisters, absolutely. Yes, yes. That was kind of ixnayed by the Nintendo gurus as well. They
Yes,
actually had to stop selling it.
I know that some hackers went in and changed the sprites to Mario ones and made it
Yeah.
kind of quasi Super Mario.
But to
Although,
be honest with you, the problem with Gianna Sisters wasn't that it was a total rip-off. It's just the first level is very reminiscent of what Mario first level looked like. The whole
yeah,
game has very different approach to different stuff. So it isn't a total rip-off.
no.
It's a stupid thing that they did that. The game could have fared much better if they kind of found their own way already from start.
Now there's a lot of side-scrolling platformer games over the years. I I don't know how many Nintendo decided to complain about, but that were kind of somewhat clones of this, clones
Mhm.
of Mario Bros. But
But that's the thing. If it works, it gets copy. They say all art is grift.
yes, all art is grifted, scammed. Well,
Yeah,
grift is maybe you're saying maybe the word maybe you're saying the different word. I'm hearing GRIFT. Is that
grift.
what I'm
Yeah,
hearing?
stolen. Yeah.
Stolen? Okay. Oh gosh, comments in the chat that I'm catching up on here. Here we go. Podcast on Sunday. Interesting. Yes. This happens to be episode 100 of my podcast and also my streamer versary. So,
Congratulations.
yes. Tracy happens to be from the United Kingdom, so it's daytime for it's late, early evening, kind of couple hours ahead of you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Where was I? Some of the other games you played. Actually, I should pull up Utopia because you keep mentioning
Yeah.
that one.
Absolutely. Utopia was interesting because it was the first prototype of something that later became RTS or real-time strategy. It plays like a little bit like Dune did, the original Dune game, if you remember. But it had a very different slant. Think about it as Dune meets SimCity meets some sort of civilization-esque. That's not the right game.
No, this is for the Intellivision. I don't know if you've heard of this
No,
one.
I don't know what that is. That is not the right one.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
it's this
absolutely.
one. It's probably
And it
this
was a
one.
very interesting game, but it was kind of too early to really make a difference. There you go. That's the one.
So how do you play this one?
It's basically the same thing as all kind of RTSs. You build a base. In this case, it's a city. You build research, you build living quarters, you build hangars and stuff, and you build power. You make sure you get mining resources. And if you look up at the rightmost corner, it says QOL 46. QOL means quality of life. 46 means he is not doing good. It should be close to 100. When it starts sinking, people start being angry, crime rates goes up, and the game can actually end that game way because you can get assassinated. So you need to kind of keep that up while making sure you have a balanced budget. That then you have to go to war with the like the insects that inhabit the planet. So it is kind of unforgiving. You have to work real times and not turn based or anything.
You know, it kind of reminds me of Sim City a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is a marriage between SimCity and maybe Dune, or maybe some sort of Red Alert-ish experience. But this was before Red Alert came out.
Or maybe the game called Civilization.
Yes, yes, that's also very true.
Um all right. What other games do you really enjoy? I mean, do you like
Well,
these world builder games?
absolutely. I love world builders. I mean, Civilization, you just mentioned that. That was on Amiga. It was on the PC, of course. And I have followed Civilization from 1 to 7. The 7 was the latest one that came out. My favorites are 2 and 5. But the first one was really good because when you started playing it, you felt, this is too hard. I have no idea what's going on here. And like 16 hours later, it's like, oh my God, the Babylonians are stealing my stuff. And you were so immersed in the game. So time just flew by. And it was eventually like late in the night and you were still playing. It just sucked you in.
I did play this one all the way
Yeah.
through. Typically, I played the Americans,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. And they're kind of like well-rounded, jack of all trades kind of. They're very easy to work either way with. Where some civilizations are specialized and have some clear disadvantages and clear advantages. So it depends on if you want to play any game, anything goes, or if you want to specialize.
yep, Tracy says it's 2020, 2042 here. Yes, this is yes, because when I typically on the air, she's in bed. Although she's gotten up way middle of the night to come on my podcast like crazy. But she's coming to America in 2 weeks. So, um, let's see. Well, this is kind of going through the evolution of the
Hmm.
civilization. What was the other title you mentioned? Pull that
Uh,
up.
what? No, no. We talked about what do you say?
I'll
Utopia,
throw up.
but
Yeah, we got Utopia. I'll throw up SimCity because
yeah, SimCity. That's also very good. It was on the C64 as well. I can tell you. Uh,
yes, I had that on the. Yeah, I played that. So we're playing this on PC. I played this on the PC first because others were. Then I got the Commodore 64 version at some point, but you're pretty much laying out these maps and then
yes.
they kind of develop, grow on their own.
The idea is that you zone the area, like you say. This is how they build cities in real life. They say this zone should be residential, this zone should be commercial, and then they build stuff if the city works.
Yes.
So it can be very interesting, but it can get very boring as well. But when you play that everything is just working, you just like incrementally just adding stuff and nothing really happens. So later on, they created disasters. You could say like, I want an earthquake or something. Then
Yeah.
you could spice the game up a bit.
Then you have to deal with nuclear fallout,
Yes,
Godzilla, plane crashes,
yes,
tornadoes.
and
I
that's
will
some bad.
say though, the original SimCity I enjoyed playing. When it went to 3D, and then they added other stuff like water. You had the water lines and other stuff. It got to be a little bit too complicated for my
Yeah,
taste.
well, that's the problem with all games or programs. They come to a sweet spot when everything is working. Then they just try to add stuff, and it gets more convoluted. It gets bad. It gets buggy or whatever. It's like sometimes you have to
This
just
ahead
say,
as
"Sorry."
this. I'm jumping this ahead so you can see how it evolves. That's for the audience who's never played this game. I bet a lot of them have.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll show the 3D model because SimCity 2000. Let's see if I can get to a spot where it's gameplay. Okay, I'll turn off CC. Yeah, this is where things got a. There's a bit of a major learning curve on this one, I think.
Could be, yeah, yeah, to play it well. I mean, just the basics, I think, is easy to learn. But I remember the game kind of helped you with tickers running, telling you what's up and what you needed to know or stuff. But it took a while to get it well. And I know some people were crazy with it. It's like, I played it for 15 hours and now it's getting boring. I'm like, 15 hours? What the heck?
Yeah, I mean it's a simulation game. It's not like playing the. You're going for the world record like Tim McVeigh trying to score a billion points on Nibbler over 2 days, which somebody in Italy has that score now because he went 50 hours.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You get nothing out of playing SimCity for 15 hours, I can tell you as much. It's a fun game, but it's like after a while, it's like, yeah, well, you have to take another thing. And later games came with scenarios. So you can say, like, yeah, we have a failing city. Can you save it? And economy
Yes.
is kind of bad. And what do you do?
Is there any other sandbox like games? Because this is, I think, an OG. Well,
Yeah,
actually, no. SimCity didn't come first. There was a game on the ColecoVision that was similar to SimCity.
I can guess. I can guess.
Yeah, but how into sandbox games are you?
Much actually. I love the kind of thing that you try stuff and see what gets you anywhere. One later series, which is modern but has been for quite a while, is of course what's that called? Tropico. Have you played that?
Never heard of it. How do you spell it?
Tropico, like you are a generalissimo, a dictator on a little island somewhere in, I don't know,
Yes. Well, that's
Yes.
number 6 in the series.
Yeah, it's pretty new, but it's been around since the 90s, I think. I played it for ages. And that's a sandbox simulator because it's fun. It has some kind of really irreverent humor where you try to do dumb stuff. Like sometimes you can oppress your people, then they protest, or you can align with the Soviet Union or the United
The ring.
States, and you can play the game any way you want to. You can also steal money for your Swiss bank account. And the
Ah, here
game
we
is,
go.
yeah,
This is probably the better. This
yeah,
is
yeah,
the
yeah,
evolution of the game, anyway.
yeah.
The first iteration, yeah, these are fully 3D animated characters on in the
Yeah,
original.
this is probably a little bit too modern for the rest of the discussion.
But 2001, close enough.
Yeah, yeah, it's okay. I guess it's okay. I mean, the cutoff point should be what 2000 or something, right?
Yeah, this is 2001, so yeah, we're in the time frame.
Somewhere, and then we also had to mention. I know we're a little bit too late here, but like Sims, that is
Yeah.
something that no.
Yeah, I never got into The Sims. I just kind of like see the game, seeing gameplay of it, like, yeah, didn't hook.
Thing is, it could be both boring and fun, depending on how you play the game. And I think the first one was fun, but the later ones, I didn't care for them. It was like they just made a dollhouse of it, and it was fun when it wasn't kind of overbearing. Later
Yeah.
games where you were supposed to buy DLC after DLC after DLC to get pets, dating options, ski resorts, or whatever. It's kind of like no. So it was fun in the beginning, and you should know that The Sims is built on a C64 game called Little Computer People.
Oh, I gotta pull that one up.
You
Um,
should. It's very interesting.
now the commercials were interesting though. That I will say that because they're kind of marketing as an interactive soap opera.
Yes, yes, it could be that. And it was kind of smart. I mean, you did stupid things just to see what happened. I remember trying to launch fireworks inside the house. I thought they have not thought about that, but they had. The whole thing caught fire. The whole living room caught fire.
Yeah, here it is, and this was by Activision.
Yes,
Interesting.
where Sims is Electronic Arts.
Here we
Yes, this
go.
is the one. Generally, this dude just walks around and does stuff, but sometimes you chat with him and you can help him with stuff, and I can think you can play cards with him and stuff.
All right. Um, any gaming feats that you've done in the past? Like, did you ever participate in competitive gaming scheme, competitive gaming scene, score chasing, or been collecting, or
Not much, actually. I'm more like a single gamer, so to speak. But I have played with and against friends, with everything from what do you call it, StarCraft. I played Red Alert series and stuff. But generally, when you start playing on more commercial gaming servers, the people you play against, even on the noob level, they are too good for you. It's not fun because they always beat you. So I'm not really into that. But I played some, at least, some games like that.
any games you're at? Any games you're I guess campaigning on currently?
Well, what I'm playing right now, but this is modern time, mind you, it's called Jump Space, and I also play something called SWAT Commander, I think it's called. Those are competitive games where,
Jump
sorry,
space.
they're not competitive. They are, I say, when you cooperate, I think they call them, right? So you and a number of friends, you man a spaceship and you fight robots and stuff, and you try to collect stuff and you raid air bases and things. It's very fun, actually, but it's in some sort of preview state. So every week there's some new interesting feature or bug or game level tuning and stuff. But it's actually very, very nice. It can get a little bit too repetitive sometimes.
This right here is Jump Space.
That is the correct one.
Yes. Um, so what do you think of the live service games currently? Because the last few years, there's been new live service games that come on that try to compete with games like Fortnite and Player Unknown Battlegrounds, and they don't even last a month.
No. I can't talk much about it. Alas, I don't play that kind of games. I know about them, of course I do, but it's more like I think many games today, and I'm not specifically saying something, have way too much like pay to win schemes, and you have to pay to get stuff, and I don't like that. Also, they are
Microtransactions.
microtransactions. That's the thing. Yes.
Yes. I also saw news. I don't know if you ever played Wizardry. Thoughts on Atari acquiring the old IPs like Wizardry?
Don't know much about that. I'm sorry, this is too new stuff for me, but it's cool that Atari is still left. Atari is still out there somehow. But I think that's a brand name in name only. Whatever it once stood for is gone. So
Yes.
I can't, I'm sorry, I cannot comment on that.
All right. Is there any? So your gaming collection, if you have one, or I don't know how big, um, any grails any grails in your collection, or is there a grail you're seeking to have?
To be honest with you, I know what you're meaning, those achievement stuff, right?
Like a game title that you'd like to get your hands on that has eluded you, or maybe you got something rare in your collection now.
No, I don't really have anything rare. And generally, I know this can be cool, but I'm so much of a casual gamer, so I don't really seek those. But I know what you mean. That's for other people, I would guess. So I have only the common stuff.
Okay. Um, any famous gamers you've had on your show?
Not gamers per se. We only had a few interviews, but we had a lot of cool demo sceners that have done games. Like we have a guy called Ericade we interviewed. Do you know what DOSBox is?
DOSBox, yeah, I
Yeah,
can
he
get it up
invented
and
it.
running.
That's what he built. So we
Oh,
talked about it.
he's the designer. Okay.
Yes, he's the original guy who created it, and we interviewed him on the podcast. So that we've had. We also talked with a Finnish gamer. I can't remember. I think his name was Oil Heap or something. He was an old games programmer in the old days with some games to his name.
I do
So
recall that one of the most famous games to ever come out of Finland is a game called Angry Birds.
yeah, not that. Sorry. Yeah, I know, but that's a weird one. It's basically like some kind of scorched earth, isn't it?
Yeah, you're trying to get your eggs back from a bunch of pigs who
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess can't. I don't know what infatuation they have with eggs because I don't think pigs eat eggs. They eat grain mostly.
Yeah. It's just the graphic stuff, I guess. I mean, a lot of gaming, like things that goat simulator. What's up with a goat? I don't know.
Yes. Um, future goals.
Well, when it comes, I will try to develop the podcast as I feel that flashback tracks from the past should be something else, but I don't know what it could be. I don't know because we have a fairly small amount of listeners, which means we don't get that many commentary. Uh, Also, when it comes to the radio station and the podcast, I will work pretty much to get them indexed so they're easier to find because I think we are hard to find when you look for demo scene radio, gaming podcasts, and stuff like that. And I try to fix that by making sure we're easier to find, and that's the main priority I have to make it more visible. So that's the tactic.
If it weren't gaming music, what other music are you really into?
When it comes to music, I'm pretty broad. I can like stuff like traditional jazz from the 20s and 30s and 40s. I mean, pretty much if you think about how Fallout sounds, that is good. I also like 60s a lot, Beatles, Rolling Stones, stuff like that. And I like 70s and 80s and some 90s. When it comes to modern music, I don't know much about it, to be honest. It doesn't interest me that much. So that's kind of where you find me.
Something that's kind of similar to chip tunes and the music you play. I don't know why I got hooked, why I'm listening to more and more of it, but it's something called trance.
Yeah, I can get that. That's kind of 90s sound, isn't it?
Night, yeah, and kind of similar to chip tunes and
Yes.
electro.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people that made chip tunes, or as I like to call them, tracker music, SID tunes, whatever, they were heavily inspired by Eurotechno, techno, trance, dance stuff, whatever. So it's kind of, you can see the similarity just because that's what they listened to when they created their own music.
Ah, you said you went to Germany.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Tell me about the tell us about the trip to Germany and
All right.
maybe some of the other countries you've been to.
Yeah, well, German is cool because it had something called Revision 2026, and that's a demo party where they compete in music, in graphics, in everything. It's not a gaming thing per se, but it's kind of related. And it was in a little town called Saarbrücken in Western Germany, close to the border of France.
Mhm.
And me and a friend called Correus, who is also he cooperates with me in the station Ericade.radio, we went there to broadcast live. So we met up with seniors. He participated in one of the competition and came on a third place, which is not bad. Um, and it was super cool to see many of those names you hear. Like you say, everyone from like Raccoon Violet and artists like Mind Brandon and Joge Liljedahl and Danko. You could meet them for real here. You only heard them now. You can meet them. So that's kind of why that's so cool.
What? Any other countries you've been to besides Germany?
Oh, I've been to United States twice. Very nice. I was in New York City and I have been in Fort Lauderdale. I have been in Czech Republic, in Prague. I have been in Hungary. I have been in Finland. I've been in Denmark, Norway. Yeah, well, Germany, as I said a number of times. Poland. But I want to see next is probably Great Britain. I have actually missed that. That would be nice.
Oh, see, somebody wants to make a trip to the UK as well.
Yeah.
um, so this has also been a thing lately. AI being a heavy influence in media creation. What's your thoughts on artificial intelligence creating music?
Well, technically, I can't say we can forbid it per se, but I think it's bad. I think it's bad because it kind of removes. When you talk about automation, you want boring stuff. Like automation stuff, like cheap factory work to be automated so we can do more creative arts. But AI today does the opposite. It takes away this thing that it means to be human, to create something that has value, meaning, and takes effort, and makes it effortless and actually quite repetitive. My biggest grief when it comes to AI is that it creates mediocrity. It creates mediocre stuff, not bad, not good, because it can never be as creative as a human being. And that's my big grief. And when it comes to music, it has something that a friend of mine called something like AI rock syndrome. It kind of over embellishes everything. When you listen to something that's been created by an AI, a song, it seems to live its own life with a lot of chords and stuff that a human wouldn't put there. So it's kind of, that's where it's still bad. But even if it gets good, it kind of removes what human creativity is about. That's what I don't like.
The only thing so AI would be, as far as I'm concerned, if I use AI for anything, it's just basically when I can't figure out an answer to a problem, or it's to kind of give me a crutch when my skill is not as good as somebody else's. It kind of gets
This I can understand. I can see use for it. I don't hate on AI or anything like that. It's just like when I see, I'm so old, so I have nothing to do with schools, but I can I read reports that school kids today, they learn to write their essays on AI. They ask
yeah,
ChatGPT.
should be illegal because
Yeah, that,
there's kids have been doing that, and it's like no.
yeah, the thing is, you can absolutely do good stuff that way. Problem is, when you get into work life, you have no creativity. You don't
Yeah.
know how to write an essay. And I believe in this society, writing a basic essay, even if that's just a blog post, that's common knowledge. You must be able to do that. If you can't do that, you can't express yourself. That's horrible.
Although I know there's a gaming news website called NoClip360.com that was almost completely AI generated, but it was kind of their way of, I guess, showing up the established gaming journalism websites that you inserted too much of your personal opinion or political stances into your work,
Mm.
and this is this what we put up creates a neutral news aggregate site and shows that you can be replaced if you're not, let's say, putting forth your best work.
That is an interesting take on it. Not entirely sure that may not be a bad idea. Problem is, when you do that, you're kind of proving that you want to improve something, which I think is cool. But most do it because it's cheap. And when you see text written by AI, it's very, very stereotypical. For example, if you use words like explore, the word explore something. This discussion, this explores the situation of delving into blah blah blah. That's AI. That's so much AI. It sounds like copy for an advert. It doesn't sound like something a real human would be proud to put out.
Yes.
And another thing is like all those icons. If you have icons like emojis in every caption, that's also a dead giveaway. That's AI. Or if you have those very long dashes that are, I think they're called EM something, EM dash or something, that's
Yeah.
also the AI. So sometimes it looks cheap. It looks dirt cheap.
Although I made my own daggum emotes for this thing. I mean, there's icons here. It's like chat. Let me show this. See, I have icons here.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. But did you know how it looks with AI? It over embellishes it. It's everywhere. It's instead
yes.
of bullet points, there is some weird emoji. Not that I hate you on it. You can remove it. But what I'm saying is, it looks cheap. It takes no effort, and also it doesn't understand the issue. You can have a summary that doesn't summarize right, and people
Right.
learn from that. And suddenly they have not understood the message, or they have understood some kind of pre-packaged message instead of learning to think for themselves.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm asking Google for help on how to fix a computer problem, and most of the time it tends to put me in the right direction, but sometimes it leads me astray.
Mm. But I feel like if you ask it something, you could get something like 80% correct and 20% wrong, but you
You're
don't know
right.
what's what. You don't
Right.
know. And I say, I'm not going to bother with that. If it has anything more than like 1% wrong, I'm not bothering with it. And here's another thing. Assume that you only use ChatGPT or whatever, Claude, and you write an essay, mostly by them. Then those lies, those incorrect information gets put back and then crawled, and the next AI puts that incorrect text up and say, yeah, this was written by a human being, so let's go with that. And suddenly the lies become the truth, and the quality of the data goes down. This is a problem we have in the future, and it's going to be horrible.
Yeah, that's a great point. Ah, 'cause now we're getting some. Yeah, we got. Uh, yeah, I'm kind. Biggest concern with AI is it turns the universe into what was depicted in
Paper clips.
the Terminator movies.
Yeah, all right.
Skynet.
Skynet.
ChatGPT is our world's Skynet.
Well, it isn't. Yeah, yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Thing is, Skynet is not an AI. Today we have the distinction AI, AGI, and superintelligence. AI today means pretty much what ChatGPT and others are. They cannot reason, but they can find the most commonly held opinions and answers to common questions, and they can summarize and they can do stuff. AGI is an AI on a human level. It's self-aware, thus it's a living being. That is not something we can build today, but I know Elon Musk and company says we're going to build that. So he's committed to it. We'll see. We'll see what's happening. But then we come to super intelligence. It's off the scale. It's superhuman. It knows more than human intelligence itself. And what is that going to do? Is it going to launch nukes at us? Well, Skynet scenario in Terminator says exactly that. But we have a number of things. It could be a benevolent dictator, a nice godlike character, or simply say, I don't want to have anything to do with you humans, so I'm out. We don't know. We don't know what we're doing. Or it could say, let's convert Earth to paperclips, because I don't know. Sounds like a good idea.
I don't know if I want to live in a world with a bunch of clippies.
You don't have to live in it. It's gone. I assure you,
Yeah,
not
that
a
was
problem.
the Microsoft Word mascot.
Yeah, I know. Looks like you're writing a letter. Go away.
Yes.
I remember that. I remember that.
Anything you want to plug? Any upcoming events with Ericade Radio?
Yes, absolutely, but it's not now, but in a few months, in July, Ericade will broadcast live from the Edison demo party here in Stockholm, Sweden, Europe. So that's coming up. It's going to be cool. Other than that, it's just business as usual. I'm trying to cobble together the next podcast, which will cover a very famous game that changed the whole gaming industry. But I won't tell you what it is.
Okay, wait. Okay, you're going to cover a game that changed the video game industry.
Yes.
Should I guess what it is?
Yes, and if you guess
Chat,
right,
do you know what it is? I want to see your guesses right now.
yes.
What time frame are we looking at on that?
We're looking at the 90s, actually.
The 90s.
Yes.
So Tracy says Pac-Man, but that was 1980.
That's 80s, and she's right. That's exactly right. Not the game I'm covering, but it is a very, very important game. But this is the 90s.
Mortal Kombat. You guess
It
it's
should
Mortal
be
Kombat.
good, but no, not that.
I would say Super Mario Brothers, but no, I would go with Street Fighter 2.
Those are very, very important games, but no, none of them. And also, those are in the 80s. We're talking 90s now.
No, Street Fighter 2 was 90.
Okay,
91.
sorry. Okay, yeah, sorry, but that's not one.
Boy, could I guess it off the top of my head, because there's so many games over the years.
Think about this.
Sonic?
It could have been, but think about it. A game that created a new genre of games, that changed everything on how a game is played and what it looks like and the style of games, and have launched 1,000 chips, number of games, everything from the modern Fallout to pretty much everything, Fortnite, everything is kind of built on this game.
Doom!
Doom is the right answer.
Oh!
Why do I win?
Yes!
Yeah,
Preceding that, Wolfenstein 3D.
Yeah, absolutely. Wolfenstein was the first one, but Doom blew the door of its hinges. It kind of was the big one. So that's what I'm going to cover.
Yes, I played Doom back in the day quite a bit. And I know Midwest Gaming Classic, they set up an array of old Macintoshes running Doom all networked together. So, although lately I've seen Faceball, 16 terminals running Faceball, which is kind of a similar game, but it's predates Wolfenstein.
Yeah,
all
actually.
Right. Oh, go ahead.
No. Sorry.
All right. So Ericade Radio at ericade.radio. Also, the past podcasts for the Ericade Radio Network are on youtube.com/Ericade Radio. Any other media sites you have?
Yeah, well, that's the important ones. You can find, we have a live stream on YouTube with the radio station, but you can just as well listen on your media device or on the site. So that's up to you. But it's also with some nice chiptunes, new ones, old gaming music, whatever. We have it on Ericade.radio. So I think you're going to enjoy it.
You know what? I didn't throw this up here. I better show this screen. Share the screen. Here's the webpage. That's what I should have done much earlier.
Okay.
Here we go. There it is. There's the
that's the site.
There we go. And you can request music. You can find out the history of Ericade in more extensive narrative.
Oh yeah, that's me. What I looked back in the day.
Yeah, 97. I wish I was that young again, and I'm like
Yeah,
in my 50s now,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. So
I'm
am I.
still
So am I.
chasing scores and winning gaming titles and all that. But this is a pretty long history. Amy
Yeah,
the
and
squirrel, the Amiga
yeah, yeah, yeah.
mascot.
She was awesome. She was the Amiga mascot. Everybody know about her because
Yes, and I just rewatched the clip, and it's like, you know what? I kind of remember seeing this before way many years ago, where she shows up at the medical clinic, and all the people who stopped to stare at her and have something bad happen, they come
yeah,
in.
and she's the nurse that have to take care of them afterwards. I believe. Yes, yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a long-winded history, but I've written it in a kind of funny way, so I think it's quite funny to read. Actually, I hope. I don't know.
All right. Well, if you ever make it back to the United States, I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. That's I
come
would
to
like that.
Illinois, come to the
Yeah,
Galloping Ghost Arcade and see the biggest arcade in the world, which is closing in on 1,100 games.
that's awesome.
Yeah, Tracy.
Uh, do you know about LGR? Isn't he into stuff like that?
LGR was at the Midwest Gaming Classic.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, I watched him a lot a few years ago. So yeah, also 8-bit guy, perhaps Texas.
Maybe. Not,
Okay.
I don't know which one it is. The LGR I am familiar with. All right. Eric, I want to. Oh, he organized the Kong off
Okay. Okay. Okay.
in the UK, apparently, I think. And they just had the Kong off. Maybe I'll have to have Tracy tell me how that turned out. Um, but anyway,
Yes.
Eric, want to thank you for coming in on the Crimeycade tonight. And well, it's nighttime for you. It's still daytime for me. But want to thank you
Well,
for coming in on a Sunday and just doing this extra podcast to celebrate, I guess, my 100th Crimeycade episode.
congratulations. Congratulations. Really nice work. Thanks for having me.
All right. Hope to see you around the arcade soon and keep on gaming. All right. Have a good night. That was Eric. Eric, so, gosh, now I forgot how to pronounce his name again. Let me throw him back on here. How do I pronounce your name again?
That would be Zalitis.
Zalitis. Thank you.
That's cool. I know. No one gets it right.
I'll just call you DJ Damon from now on. That'll be easier.
Go ahead.
All right. Thanks. You have a good night. All right. That will do it for the Crimeycade podcast tonight. Yes, happy 100th. Do want to share a few more items before I get out of here. I gotta stop sharing and bring back the slideshow. So in the next few weeks, yes, I just got out of the Wild Wrestling show. Good grief. Oh my goodness. So I gotta go see my mom shortly because it's Mother's Day where I live. And let me bring this back up, although I already showed these slides. Anyway, 2 weeks, Combo Breaker at the Schaumburg Convention Center, starting Friday of Memorial Day weekend, going through Sunday. I will make it up there. May 22nd through the 24th, I will make it up there. Rendezvous with Tracy, who says she is going to be going up there. Kind of an arcade convention, not just the fighting games. But there's a lot of, there'll be a lot of watching other people battle it out on the big screen, and I can't hang with those guys. My chances will be better if at the Tekken Tag Tournament, Sunday, May 31st at 3 p.m. at the Galloping Ghost Arcade, BWT returns after taken almost a year off and going after trying to find whatever happened to JP Pitts. Following that weekend, the Illinois Game Con, June 6, 2026, at the Interstate Center in Bloomington, Illinois. And also that weekend, Coors Con, Columbus, Ohio's first video game convention. It's been around for 18 years. Wild. It's not showing up. Wow, there we go. Wonder why the chats were not showing up real quick. Missouri Game Con, Greensfelder Recreation Complex in Manchester, Missouri. And on the 25th, I'll be there for that. Midwest Gaming Classic has been scheduled for 2027, April 23rd through 25th. Next Thursday's guest, as I will be the curators of Chicago Game Space, Jonathan Kinkley and Ethan Johnson. We will talk about their museum, some of the stuff they exhibit there, and some of the early gaming. At the Midwest Gaming Classic, they had the exhibit detailing Nutting and Associates and some of the early Bally Midway games at the con. So, and they got a location in the Chicago area. It'll be a 9 p.m. start time on May 14th. So be aware of that. Starting it later so they can both get in on time, because they have a lot of stuff going on during the day that they're busy with. So they will stop in at 9 p.m. All right. Happy Mother's Day to everybody. And yeah, my weekend's winding down and I'm trying to recover. So, anyway, looks like I got some work to do, sending notes out. And I will be rating a channel. Who's going to be, who's streaming this afternoon? Actually, not very many of the people I typically follow, but, Charlie Farr, I'll give it to him because he is streaming Moonwalker for the Sega Genesis. So until next time, I am the Mad Conservative Crime Fighter. Hope to see you around the arcade soon. Have a good night, everybody.